This is pretty good, eh? I don't know how long this takes me to set up, but in this video, I'm going to show you all the camera equipment that I use as a solo filmmaker and video content creator. I am unabashedly a total gearhead. I love camera gear. To me, camera gear is kind of like adult Legos. However, sometimes all of this stuff is just so complicated. If you don't already have like solid understanding of video content creation, I would say you definitely don't need all of this gear. Just use your smartphone. This video isn't sponsored and nobody is paying me to push their gear. All of my opinions are my own. If you disagree with my gear choices, or if you feel like you have a better solution, let me know in the comments. And finally, links to everything that I'm going to discuss can be found in the video description down below. But before we talk about my camera gear, I want to share what was the biggest game changer in how I organize and carry all of my camera gear, and that is packing cubes. The concept is that you organize all of your gear into smaller bags, which you can then swap in and out of a larger primary bag based on what you need. Not only does this keep your gear hyper organized, but it also lets you use whatever bag you want or whatever bag you already own. I've collected packing cubes from a variety of different companies, but my favorites are from Peak Design. My absolute favorite camera bags are both made by Peak Design. I think Peak Design hit an absolute home run with the layout, the aesthetic, and the design of this everyday 30-liter backpack. I love the flexibility of the origami style dividers and the combination of side access zippers with a main compartment magnetic latch. Whenever I have bigger projects or if I'm going out of town, I'll grab the Peak Design 45-liter travel backpack. It has the same side access zipper design as the everyday backpack, but was designed to be used with interchangeable packing cubes. So moving on to what's inside my bags, the first major item is going to be a portable battery bank, or in this case, multiple. Filming videos consumes gobs of power, whether it's your cameras, monitors, mics, lights. All of this stuff requires electricity, and running out of battery is probably one of the easiest ways to ruin your video shoot. Not to mention, it is a major hassle to have to stop everything that you're doing and start a new take just to change out a battery, especially when your light is fading. I use two of these massive Anker portable battery banks. They've recently released a newer version that actually has 2 USB-C ports, and so I would definitely recommend getting that over this older one that I've got. For my serious power needs, I use the Bluetti EB3A. Not only is this less expensive than my Goal Zero Yeti, but it has almost 50% higher battery storage, and the output is almost 4 times higher in total, and it has an increased number of interfaces. On top of this, it also has added features like Bluetooth app connectivity, letting you monitor all of the various settings, how much power is coming in, going out, or you could turn the unit on and off all from your phone. I have 4 of these Falconized F7 LED lights, and I absolutely love them. They are insanely bright, super portable, and last 2 hours at their maximum brightness. Having multiple lights gives you a ton of flexibility as to exactly how much light you use and where. Obviously, these aren't as powerful as a massive chip on board unit, but their increased portability makes them a must-have. You can get these in a kit with a honeycomb grid and a diffuse softbox for $100 each. But keep in mind, you'll also need a few options for mounting these. Next up is an external monitor. Even if you're not going to be filming yourself, I think that an external monitor is an absolute must. Everything looks fantastic on the 3-inch screen on the back of your camera. Don't trust it. Even though it might not sound like a significant difference, a 5-inch external monitor actually has 3 times the surface area of that 3-inch screen on the back of your camera. Not only can an external monitor help you see if everything is in frame and in focus, but it can also serve as a recording backup. I recommend getting the newer Ninja 5 that has native USB-C power delivery and can record up to 6K at 30 frames per second. Next up, I have a DJI RS2 motorized gimbal. Whenever I'm doing any kind of panning movement shot, I prefer to use a motorized gimbal over a large motorized slider. Gimbals are at their best in high movement situations, but worst case scenario, they can actually serve as a tabletop or even regular tripod head. Also, gimbals are so much more portable to carry around as compared to a large slider, which requires 2 tripods of its own. As I mentioned, I have the DJI RS2 gimbal, but the newer version is the RS3 Pro, and that's what I would recommend getting. So next in my camera bag is a rock solid tripod system. Now I'm sort of cheating by calling a tripod system one item because really it consists of 4 different things. You know, first off, you've got a tripod, then you've got a tripod head, you've got a quick release clamp, and then you've got a camera body cage or quick release plate. Starting with the tripod, I'm biased, but I think that Really Right Stuff makes the best carbon fiber tripod on the market. And they're made entirely in the United States, right here in Utah, actually. I use their TFC24L for my primary tripod, and then I have an older 1 Series tripod that's actually holding up that camera. If I was buying something today, I would still get their TFC24L for my primary, but I would buy their newer Ascend 14L for my secondary tripod or as my travel tripod. So moving on, the next item is a tripod head. Now, a tripod head doesn't have to be a fluid head. And in fact, I have filmed all of the videos on my YouTube channel using these inexpensive ball heads that were designed for still photography. However, if you're wanting to have smooth panning movements, then a ball head isn't gonna work for you. Then you'll need either a traditional fluid head or a motorized gimbal. Next is a quick release system. I think that the best system out there is based on the Arca Swiss design. A number of different manufacturers use this system, including Really Right Stuff. I have one of their lever release clamps that I absolutely love, and I use on both of my tripod heads. The last part of the tripod system is a camera body cage or mounting plate. I prefer cages just because of the plethora of mounting options that they afford you. With video, I feel like all of the various accessories such as an external monitor, lights, microphones, external battery packs, you need somewhere to mount all this stuff, and honestly just having a camera cage with a top handle gives you plenty of mounting points where you can still access the camera and it's not completely covered in paraphernalia. I think that Small Rig makes some of the best designed camera cages on the market currently. They also make a variety of accessories like handles, top mounts, monitor mounts, battery mounts, basically just the full suite of various accessories that I use, and all of which are based on the same NATO quick release system. It's basically like a miniature version of the Arca Swiss system for my bigger cameras. And once again, you can find links to everything that I'm describing in the video description down below. Also, if you're still here, do me a favor and slap that like button. Come on, you can't tell me this visually hasn't been amazing. I'm very proud of it. So next up, I have 2 wireless microphones, or multiple actually wireless microphones running at all times. The reason that I have 2 is just in case something bad happens to one of your microphones, it gets rustled or bumped or turns off. Hopefully then you at least have 1 microphone working that has usable audio. For my primary microphone, I like to use the Rode NTG shotgun mic. For my secondary microphone, which I'll use with a lav, is the Rode Wireless Go 2 microphone system. Now, Rode has actually come out with a new wireless set called the Wireless Pro, and that actually includes not only a charging case for all of the devices, which I think is fantastic, but it also includes 2 lav microphones, which if you were to buy those separately, you're actually spending less money buying the brand new Wireless Pro set as compared to buying Wireless Go 2 set and then adding those 2 extra lav mics. So if you're gonna get a new wireless system, I would definitely recommend getting the Wireless Pro set. In my opinion, the Rode NTG shotgun mic is a bargain at $250 because it can also serve double duty as a voiceover microphone via USB-C connected to your computer. Next, I use both circular polarizer and neutral density or ND filters. A circular polarizer is the secret sauce to eliminating unwanted glares or reflections. You'd be amazed at how many situations you have unwanted reflections, and basically, a circular polarizer lives on both of my 2 primary lenses. Neutral density filters are basically like a pair of sunglasses for your lenses. Though I've done it in the past, you don't have to spend $300 on a quality filter. However, you don't want to go on the cheap end and get a low quality filter that introduces a color tint and then makes color grading in post-production an absolute nightmare. I have found the sweet spot to be around $100, and currently I use breakthrough photography filters, but I'm also a fan of Lee and B+W brand filters. I currently have 5 lenses in total. However, hands down, my 2 primary lenses are first, the Fuji 16 to 80mm f4 OIS kit lens. And for my secondary lens, I have Fuji's XF 10 to 24R OIS lens. Due to the APS-C crop factor, these lenses are equivalent to a 24 to 120mm zoom, as well as a 15 to 36mm zoom. Both lenses have fixed f4 apertures, as well as built-in image stabilization, and are weather resistant. I have found that both of these lenses essentially live on my 2 cameras because they always get the job done. I used to have the opinion that any lens that wasn't a 2.8 fixed aperture lens was a junk lens, and honestly, I couldn't have been further off. Yes, a 2.8 aperture lens will give you super smooth bokeh and a very shallow depth of field, but sometimes that's actually not your friend when shooting videos. Also, it's rare that you'll find f2.8 lenses as image stabilized in these focal ranges. No matter what lens you go with, in my opinion, built-in image stabilization is an absolute must for videos. If you're shooting with Canon's mirrorless RF system, the equivalent lenses that I'm referring to are their RF 24 to 105 LIS lens and their RF 14 to 35 f4 LIS lens. If you shoot with Sony, then we're talking about their FE 24 to 105 f4 GOSS lens and their FE 16 to 35 f4 ZAOSS lens. There's no way I could do that without my phone, because I mean that's just alphabet soup. Next in my camera bag is my Fuji X-T4 camera body. I've had this camera for over 2 years now and it is still kicking ass. If you're buying a camera system today, my recommendation would be Fujifilm's X-H2S. It can record 6K resolution in 30 frames per second in what's referred to as open gate. This means you can record one single image that you can then crop in post-production for either horizontal or vertical formats. Not to mention, shooting in 6K resolution allows you all the benefits of oversampling while publishing in 4K, which is insane. In 4K, the X-H2S can shoot in 120 frames per second, and it can do all of this recording internally in Apple ProRes, ProRes HQ, F-Log, and F-Log 2, all in 10-bit color. And if that wasn't enough, it can record in ProRes RAW and Blackmagic RAW in 6K with an external monitor that I mentioned earlier. If you shoot with Canon, I would go with their R6 Mark II, which can shoot 4K internally and 6K externally with that same Atomos Ninja 5 monitor. Right now, you can buy the R6 Mark II for $2,500. If you shoot with Sony, then I would recommend getting the A7 IV. It can record 4K internally. Unfortunately, there's no 6K, but Sony does have arguably the best autofocus system currently on the market. Right now, you can buy the A7 IV for $2,500 body only. Finally, a budget-friendly option that I would recommend is picking up a used X-T4. As I mentioned, I am still shooting all of my footage on an X-T4 camera body, and you can pick these up used for under $1,400. If you want to buy something brand new, you can pick up the X-T5 with the 16 to 80 kit lens for $2,200. And finally, the single most important piece of camera gear that I have, in my opinion, is a B camera. For my B camera, I have an older Fuji X-T3 camera, which thankfully still meets all of my requirements of a brand new video camera today. It shoots in 4K with 10-bit color and uses all of the same interchangeable lenses as my X-T4 camera body. In my opinion, a B camera is so important because, as as I have experienced personally, a B camera will save your ass when something goes wrong with your primary camera during your shoot. Your B camera can have fewer bells and whistles than your A camera, but in my opinion, you really want to stay in the exact same camera brand as your A camera. That way you have the exact same color grading in your post-production process, and as a benefit, you can use all of the same lenses. You can find used X-T3 cameras on eBay or Adorama for well under $1,000. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for sticking around until the end. If this video was helpful to you and you want to support me, please use my affiliate links in the video description down below. Using those links supports me through commissions and doesn't cost you anything extra. If you want to see more content like this in the future, let me know by leaving a comment down below, and of course, subscribe to my YouTube channel. My name is Eric Johnson, and until next time.
This is Eric with entirely too much camera gear, signing out.